Hello and welcome to These Political Times. I'm going to kick off my first Trump Tunes segment with an in-depth look at what many consider the president's greatest political skill, his remarkable ability to lie without embarrassment. They say it's truly of historic proportions, unequaled in the annals of presidential prevaricating. He got off to a fabulous start, too, as you've probably heard. 3,000 lies in his first year in office alone, all documented. And believe me, as you're about to hear, he was just warming up. Now, if you're thinking maybe he's tripping out on some exotic drug and that's why he's able to come up with all these audacious claims, he's a teetotaler, remember? Or so he says, and I have no reason to doubt him. Then again, if he is hallucinating, could that explain why he wears that bird's nest on his head? Or why he can say one thing one day, on camera no less, and turn around and say he didn't say it the next? In other words, when it comes to dispensing whoppers, President Trump's are truly an order of magnitude beyond anything we've ever seen before. He's like P.T. Barnum on steroids. In fact, it's this steadfast determination to tell it like it isn't. This led to our president being recognized as the preeminent liar of his time. No other president has achieved such exalted status. Granted, his critics may be right about one thing, whether he's inflating the size of his inaugural crowd or the size of his bank account or even the size of his hands, he may be a little size conscious. Oh, I know, psychiatrists say he's compensating for his own perceived inadequacy in the size department, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Maybe he's just indulging in a little wishful thinking. I mean, a man can dream, can he? Besides, his devoted followers don't seem to mind. They swallow his every line, hook, line, and sinker. Whether it's the size of his crowds or the size of his hands, they refuse to believe their own eyes. That could explain a lot, couldn't it? But such blind devotion leaves the president free to assert just about any false claim he wants, and he usually does, which is why I've decided my first Trump tune should commemorate this most extraordinary feature of the president's political repertoire. I've been performing this song now, well, I guess since early in his administration, but I think it's more relevant today than ever. It's entitled, What Else? Our President's a Serial Liar. And it examines the president's unabashed commitment to inventing the truth as he goes along. Well, they say the reason why the president tells so many lies is because he likes to keep everyone guessing. But the truth is, he's just a liar, like an arsonist drawn to a fire. It's an urge he's incapable of suppressing. Among his many credibility lapses was his promise to release his taxes, as all modern candidates have done before. Then he said he couldn't because he was under audit, to which the IRS said that's audit. Never stopped anyone from releasing taxes before. Now folks say it feels like we're being sold down the river when he fulfills his promise to cut taxes by cutting his even bigger. He's a firm believer in getting it while you can. But one thing's for certain, his businesses ain't hurting. He's making a tidy profit off of good old Uncle Sam. Some say he's a disaster, some call him a creep, some urge him to master the art of taking a flying leap. Some say his mind is bent and pray Congress will set about his quick impeachment so the door doesn't hit him on the way out. You see, our president's a serial liar. We can't trust what he says. He's setting our democracy on fire to serve his own political ends. You know, I think we should stop here real quick and examine just how the president's war on truth is coming now that he's in his final year in office. And it turns out, and again, this is all documented, he's been blasting away at a record pace. Over 20,000 lies and counting. And now that he seems to think his only chance of being reelected is to revive the economy that his magical thinking in the midst of a pandemic destroyed, he's spewing forth enough misinformation to crash NASA's supercomputer. My word, remarkable. What a fabulous fabulist. He's likely to set a record that'll never be equaled. It's like they shot him up with one of those truth serum drugs, and he's having an adverse reaction. Obama wiretapped me. Russia didn't do it. Climate change is a Chinese hoax. Windmills cause cancer. The Ukraine hacked the DNC. China's paying for the tariffs. Obama founded ISIS. The coronavirus is a Democratic hoax. Oh, and let's not forget, the phone call was perfect. But for some strange reason, his cult followers, worshipful disciples until the very end, want to deny him his achievement. They claim his reputation for lying is all fake news. If anyone's lying, they say, and I don't want to alarm you, but they say it's the deep state. Who was it who said, you can lead a Trumpster to the truth, but you can make him drink? As far as they're concerned, their wannabe emperor is fully clothed, to which I say, thank God. Well, he inflates his crowd sizes as if we're too stupid to believe our own eyes, and refuses to let facts ruin a perfectly rigged election. He lies at an embarrassing rate, but embarrassment won't stop what he misstates. After all, he's the guy in the yellow wig with the orange complexion. He lied about being wiretapped by his predecessor, fired the FBI chief when he couldn't say yes, sir. And there's no world leader except for Vladimir he doesn't feel qualified to demean. Yet this whining bully stews and cries, boo-hoo-hoo, complaining the press is just so darn mean. And when it comes to the ladies, he says they make him so crazy that he grabs them and just starts kissing. He says he owes it to his celebrity status. They let stars do it, you know, gratis. The First Lady's arrival cut short his reminiscing. Oh yeah. He launches deadly missiles over chocolate cake, pronounces unfavorable news reports fake, all the while fulfilling his duties as a Vladimir stooge. He failed to make Mexico pay for his wall, broke his promise to provide health care for all, while proclaiming his accomplishments huge. Some say he's a disaster, some call him a creep, some urge him to master the art of taking a flying leap. Some say his mind has been, and pray Congress will set about his quick impeachment so the door doesn't hit him on the way out. You see, our president's a serial liar, we can't trust what he says. He's setting our democracy on fire to serve his own political ends. To serve his own political ends. You know, I think you'll be relieved to hear, though, and I have this on good authority, the president's staff has come up with a foolproof, surefire way to tell if he's lying. They just check to see if his mouth is open. There are no cheeseburgers in the room, not a Whopper or Big Mac in sight. He's lying. Now, I've heard lots of theories for what motivates his compulsive mendacity. Some say it's pathological, some say it's strategic. There are even a few who attribute it to, well, dementia. Now, granted, given some of his most outrageous claims, it may seem like he's a few neurons short of a reality check, slurring his words, forgetting what he said yesterday, exhibiting the vocabulary and syntax of a fifth grader, not to mention resorting to adolescent name-calling. But even so, he's at least sharp enough to know repetition breeds acceptance. It's right there in the autocrat's handbook. If you repeat your message over and over with sufficient frequency, people will start to believe it. No collusion, no collusion. Whatever his motivation, though, I can't help but wonder, with all those tall tales he tells, how does he manage to separate fact from fiction, reality from fantasy? How does he keep it all straight in his head? I mean, it must get pretty confusing in there at times. It's almost like he lives in an alternate reality where nothing means anything and everything else is, well, whatever he says it is. Let's call it Trump world. Like, remember when he told us the coronavirus would miraculously disappear without vaccines and testing? Yep, Trump world. Or how about when he insisted he'd fired the FBI director because he was incompetent? Straight out of Trump world, because the next thing you know, he stepped out into the bright light of day, or rather the bright lights of NBC Nightly News, and confessed he did it because of this Russia thing. Which is it, Mr. President? Oh, wait, his mouth is open. We know what that means. Some say he's a disaster, some call him a creep, some urge him to master the art of taking a flying leap. Some say his mind is bent and pray Congress will set about his quick impeachment so the door doesn't hit him on the way out. Oh yes, we don't want that door to hit him. I understand he bruises easily. But when you get right down to it, let's face it, he's merely taking advantage of his most extraordinary talent. I mean, wow, such guilt-free duplicity. You see, our president's a serial liar. We can't trust what he says. He's setting our democracy on fire to serve his own political ends. Now, before I close, I'd like to remind you to be sure to click on the subscribe button. You can see it there just below the YouTube window. That way I can keep you up to date on when my next tuneful take on these political times is ready for your listening consideration. And if you'd like to see These Political Times become an album of songs, head on over to my production site and join me. You'll find that link below too. I'd love to get your feedback and hear what songs you'd like me to record. Meanwhile, if the president doesn't sneak into his local burger joint, devour all the prepackaged meat patties, I'll tell you next time about how the Russians helped our president become president. Thanks for joining me.